Good afternoon, everyone. This is Uday here from IncubateHub. Yeah, good afternoon to you all. Really appreciate having taken out time today to come and join this session. I'm sure. This topic is always of very close interest for everyone, right? Especially someone who is starting up, or someone is on his growth journey or a scale journey, or trying to grow into multiple markets, right? So whenever a tech company or otherwise, whether it is to do with a D2C company or otherwise, someone who is really leveraging cloud as an infrastructure for their key partnership, right? It's extremely critical that one really has a very keen eye on what kind of value-based partnerships one has, right? So I think today we are going to have a very exciting session, on scaling up with cloud, and especially more so really, primarily because we have awesome speakers from Europe's largest cloud service provider, OVHcloud, over here. So obviously, those are the two things I always feel, right? One is the value-based partnership, and the second thing is the total cost of ownership of your operations and infrastructure, right? So these are the two key things. And most importantly, how can you very closely collaborate with your key partnerships, during your growth journey or even during your genesis, is, I think, is extremely critical in today's world. So without much ado, I would like to just set the context that today we would have about 45 minutes of session, and typically we will take up questions in the end. You could please post. I have Raghu, my colleague over here, who is me and him. We will be typically taking up the questions at the end. But without much ado, but to just leverage who are the speakers today, and so that I'll just quickly introduce so that people over here can leverage their presence over here in the right way. Now we have Philip. Philip has been working with startups for the last 20 years with the VC technology transfer and business incubation industries. He has accreditation as a mentor and business coach with Mentors and Business Coaches International, and currently leads the OVHcloud startup program globally. So really welcome, Philip. Really appreciate you having taken time out over here.
Thanks, Uday. Nice to be here.
And then OVHcloud is leading European hyperscaler and pure play cloud provider area. Next, we have SATYAM SANTOSH, who has worked with global startups and enterprises, solving enterprises' technological challenges through strong partnerships in the area of cloud and IT infrastructure. He specializes in crafting strategic partnerships with startup ecosystem and has led many successful startup alliances for large enterprises. At OVHcloud per se, Satyam leads the startup program for Asia Pacific region, and we at IncubateHub have been working very closely with Satyam and Philip and the whole team. And really, having known OVH very closely, really hats off to their unique approach in today's world of really maintaining that relationship and building up that relationship. Without much ado, I would like to pass on to Satyam. Satyam, if you could please take over and set up the context and the agenda. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks. Thank you so much, Uday. Thanks for the warm introductions. Hello and welcome, everyone. Good afternoon and good evening from wherever you're watching. So we'll be starting off today's session on scaling up with cloud with a quick introduction on OVHcloud, which will be covered by my colleague Philip. Post that, we will jump on to why is cloud infrastructure important for any company, right? Whether it's a big organization or a small startup or a very early stage startup. Why is cloud infra important for them? Then we jump on to how can a cloud service provider actually help startups expand to newer geographies and reach their customers very quickly. And finally, we will end the session with a quick introduction to OVHcloud Startup Program and the benefits that we offer to early stage startups, followed by a question and answer like Uday mentioned, right? So that's the agenda for today. Hopefully, we all learn a few things out of this session. And with this, I hand it over to Philip. Over to you, Philip.
Thanks, Satyam. Hi, everyone. Great to be here. So as you heard, I'm Philip MARAIS, and I run the OVHcloud Startup Program globally. I'm just going to give you a bit of an introduction to who OVHcloud is. So we are a leading European cloud provider, as Uday said, and we have 1.6 million customers served by 34 global water-cooled data centers offering data sovereign cloud solutions. And I'll talk a bit more about what data sovereignty means a bit later on. The company was started in 1999 by a Polish entrepreneur called Octave Klubber, actually out of France in Roubaix. And the company now has grown to have over 3,000 employees. It's been a good year for us. We've had a number of exciting announcements. One of them was in the environmental sustainability area. So OVHcloud received a ESG evaluation of 71 out of 100 from S&P Global Ratings, which as a result of our ESG profile, and the score places OVHcloud above the average of technology and telecoms peers across all geographies, and reflects our commitment to provide an open, trustworthy, and sustainable cloud. Just moving on to the next slide there, Satyam. Yeah, so the other exciting announcement was that OVHcloud is now part of the major players amongst public cloud infrastructure as a service providers, according to the IDC. This announcement clearly highlights our move from being an infrastructure as a service provider to being now a serious platform as a service provider as well. This slide also highlights some of the key points mentioned in the report, one of which relates to our investment in services relating to AI and machine learning, for example. Thanks, Satyam. You can move on to the next slide. In terms of our history, OVHcloud's growth has really been driven by innovation and acquisition. So water cooling patents early on in our development for water cooling systems of our servers, as well as building our own machines. So all our servers are built by ourselves. It means that we are green by design due to energy efficiency, and also having control of the supply chain, and therefore where we source our components in terms of carbon footprint and things like that. And this has positioned us as an ESG leader. Our expansion into the USA was through acquisition of VIPRA in 2017, and other acquisitions like the acquisition of OpenIO, which actually was a startup that went through the startup program back in 2016, has now become part of our public cloud offering. So they have it was a high performance object storage solution, which is now actually part of our public cloud offering. Next slide. Thanks, Satyam. All right, so a bit about what we do. So OVHcloud offers a broad range of cloud solutions. So we have our dedicated service, or bare metal service, which is really kind of infrastructure as a service, where you buy one or more machines, you rent one or more machines on our cloud, you choose the operating system, and then you install whatever software you want on top of that. The benefit of this kind of machine is, first of all, very customizable, and also you can get maximum performance out of that because you're basically using the whole machine and all of its resources. Then we have our private cloud. So this is a cluster of bare metal servers managed by a hypervisor, and this makes networking, for example, a lot easier, as well as things as, like making your servers highly available, putting them across multiple DCs or multiple locations easy, and also comes with certifications for financial data, healthcare data, for example, as well as added security. And then the third offering is our public cloud. So this is where you purchase one or more instances on shared hardware. And this is the, the highly scalable, pay by the hour, pay by the month, depending on, and you only pay per use, basically. Typically what a startup would want to use when they're starting out, because you can, create an instance when you need it and pull it down based on the load. And on top of our public cloud, we've got lots of managed services like databases, managed Kubernetes, and analytics and AI kind of offerings that would also be easy to access for you as a startup. Yeah, compared to other hyperscalers, where the way I like to describe ourselves is where we are broad, where the other hyperscalers might be classified as deep. So meaning we don't have as many proprietary solutions because we're maintaining open standards as a value. But what we do have is a broad range of offerings, like I said. So cost of cloud has become a big factor even for startups now, where the VCs, the venture capital companies, are talking about how the cost of cloud is actually affecting the valuation of listed software companies. So we're talking about scaling today. What we can offer you is you can start thinking about how that cost of cloud is going to affect your valuation and your cash flow right from the get-go, where our engineers can help you to think about using public cloud in the early stages of your growth, and start thinking about how you can move workloads onto more sustainable infrastructure like our bare metal servers, whenever it makes more sense to do so. And so we can think about that, help you to think about that whole the cost of your cloud over your whole development timeline, which is a real benefit. And you can start thinking about the cost of cloud as a metric that you can actually measure as a business. Other things that differentiate us, well, our vision is all about giving our customers the freedom to innovate with their data. So we've structured ourselves as a company specifically to provide you data sovereignty. So basically making sure that you know where your data is, and also that it's not going to be moved to any other location without your consent, effectively. As I said, we believe in open standards, and if we don't lock you in to the technology we provide, our public cloud is run on OpenStack, for example. I spoke a bit about the benefits of the fact that we don't lock you in. Because of that, we're also more interoperable. So with other clouds. So we see a lot of startups these days who have a multi-cloud approach. They don't only work with one provider, and because we're open standards, it actually helps you to do that. So that it makes us a great place to start, because you've got that flexibility in your tech stack. When you're starting out, which is really beneficial. You want to be able to change direction quickly as a startup. You want to have that agility. On the whole, we also don't charge bandwidth costs. Therefore, you're free to move your data on and off our cloud with no cost. It also removes the surprises in your bill, that bandwidth costs can provide if you have big spikes in traffic. So a lot of transparency in our billing. And then, as you've already heard, our commitment to environmental sustainability through the way we design and build our DCs. We also source our energy for our DCs responsibly, and we're currently on 79% of the energy that we use is sourced from renewable sources. And then we also apply some of the highest security standards to ensure that you meet the requirements of the industries that you serve. So that's a bit of an introduction to OVHcloud. Over to you, Satyam.
Thank you, Philip. So now that we know a little bit more about OVHcloud than we knew 10 minutes ago, let's move on to the next part of presentation, where we cover about why should one migrate to cloud, right? And I mean, this has become like a very redundant question right now, because be it any organization, whether large or small, everyone utilizes the cloud resources accordingly, right? But if you have to look at specifically from two perspectives, both from technical and business perspective, migrating to cloud does make sense, right? I mean, from technical perspective, let's assume you have an e-commerce web application, and you get certain traffics whenever there's a festival coming, whenever there's a holiday season coming, whenever there's a deal season coming, right? So to manage all of these workloads and traffic, cloud resources can actually help you in in scaling up and down accordingly, depending on the traffic that you have. So you don't have to budget your infrastructure requirements well in advance to the point. You could be you could scale up and down very quickly, very easily with cloud, right? And apart from handling cyclic workloads, cloud also gives you built-in redundancy as well, right? So it takes away the onus from the customer, that they would have to set up redundant infrastructure in different parts of the world, probably to take care to make the systems highly available, right? So cloud does provide you with that redundancy option available, and it makes your systems or applications very highly available, right? So these are from technical standpoint. But if you look at mainly from business reasons, business standpoint, Philip was talking about cost of cloud and total cost of ownership, Uday had mentioned. So cost I mean, a cloud, it does help you in reducing costs a lot, and how they do it is because it offloads the low value IT tasks that your IT teams would be doing initially, like for example, installing a software on the machines, patching them, patching the OSs, and all of that. So it takes away all of these low value tasks, and your IT teams can actually focus on a much more important tasks like security and others, right? So that way it is able to reduce the costs, and not only that, it's also able to provide you with resources on the go, right? So as and when you need it, you're able to access the resources and pay for only what you're using, right? So that changes the model from capital expenditure to OpEx, right? So you're actually paying as you go. You need not make a heavy capital expenditure for your IT infrastructure on the hardware initially, right? Even before you start, you can just pay as you go, and pay as per you use as well. So these are the some of the benefits that cloud provides as well. So let's look at why should a startup, specifically an early stage startup, why do they need to choose a cloud service provider very carefully, right? Again, looking at it from two different perspectives. From technical standpoint, if I mean, if you look at it, whenever you're trying to migrate to cloud, you need to create a landing zone, right? You need to create the initial infrastructure to actually move your applications on that, right? And that takes a lot of time, that takes a lot of efforts, that takes a lot of resources to set it up, right? Now, in case you move to a cloud service provider and you do not see the value coming in, you would again have to set up a landing zone while migrating to another one, and that's quite a difficult that's quite a difficult come time consuming tasks as well, right? So from technical standpoint, it's not very much feasible to keep migrating from one cloud service provider to another, and that is one of the reasons why a startup needs to have that long term vision in mind as well. Apart from that, I think Philip was talking about some of the regulations, right? And if you look at it, if you're an early stage startup and if you want to operate at a global scale, if you want to have operations in every country, if you want to reach the customers globally in every region, you would have to comply with the data regulations that exist in each and every country, right? So for example, in Europe, there's GDPR, and to operate in Europe, you would have to comply with GDPR regulations. So and your customers in Europe would also expect you to comply with such regulations as well, right? So that's the so keeping all of that in mind, you need to have the selection in place, wherein which you select the cloud service provider depending on your requirements, depending on your regulatory requirements, and the cloud service provider which is fulfilling that, right? So these are some of the reasons that I believe as to why an early stage startup should choose the cloud service provider very carefully. Now, looking at it from business standpoint, I think Philip was already mentioning about the cost of cloud and how it affects valuation as well. So just to give you an example, a couple of years ago, I think we have all read that report by Andreessen Horowitz. The report's name was "The Cost of Cloud: A $1 trillion Paradox," which took an example of Dropbox and did a deep dive analysis as to how Dropbox lost on its valuation while getting listed in the markets because of uncertain cloud costs. Now, one might argue that Dropbox is such a large company; they have the scale of a very small cloud service provider itself, right? I mean, the kind of resources that they require and the kind of resources that they use. But that stands true for any early stage startup, or for that any level of startup as well. I mean, any stage startups as well, right? Whether early stage or late stage, and especially given the macroeconomic scenarios right now, we are calling it funding winters, right? So we do need to be wary of the rising cloud costs, and need to keep the infrastructure costs in check as well. If you're a startup which has raised some money from VCs, then your investors will also look for I mean, would obviously want you to reduce your infrastructure costs as much as possible as well, right? So that's one of the reason why we need to look at a cloud service provider very carefully. Another reason is that every time a full multi-cloud portability is could be expensive. Now, like I mentioned, right, it's very difficult to obtain the right skills of people who can help you in migration from one cloud to another. You would have to spend enough amount of efforts and time in doing so, right? So we need to, I mean, and not only that, you would also have to do it in a very short period of time to keep the to get the advantages of costs right. So that's why full multi-cloud portability is quite expensive, not feasible in all the cases as well. And that is why choosing a right cloud service provider could be very important. So moving on, so now we have discussed about why cloud is important, and why should we have a very long and a careful discussion about choosing the right cloud service provider. Let's talk about how can a cloud service provider help you expand your business, especially if you are a startup, right? And I think couple of pointers we have already talked about, especially around certifications and infrastructure scaling. I talked about you could scale up and scale down as your demands as the demands for your application increase or go down, right? Cloud service providers takes care of the certification part. For example, PCI DSS for financial services, HDS for healthcare, HIPAA compliance for healthcare in the US. So the cloud service provider actually takes the burden away from you in getting your infrastructure certified. So these are the two reasons that we have already talked about. But two most important reasons specifically for an early stage startup is about increasing the reach to customers globally, right? So since cloud service providers have data centers across the globe, they can help you reach customers very quickly. Your customers can experience it. For example, if you are, say, a video streaming company, the closer your data is to your customer, the lower the latency is, and the better the experience is for your customers, right? So that's one of the reason how a cloud service provider can actually help you expand business. And one last point, but very important is cloud service providers do have some relevant programs which can give you access to which can give you access to markets as well. So they will probably have a joint GTM programs. They will probably have ecosystem partners who can help you in raising funds, who can help you in getting introduced to VCs, getting you inside, getting you access to accelerators, incubators, and getting you all the startup ecosystem support that you need, right? So these are the four examples, I mean, four pointers that we think as to how can a cloud service provider actually help you expand, right? So since I was now talking about the relevant programs, OVH Cloud also has devised a support program for early stage startups, and we call it OVH Cloud Startup Program. And the way it is structured, and the way it is structured is this, right? So if you have to look at so we have two main program levels within startup program. The first level is start level, wherein which startups from ideation stage to an MVP stage are considered. And then we have the second level, which is scale, wherein is any startup which is looking to reach newer geographies, which is looking to expand to newer geographies, or looking to add on more features in their product or platform. We put them in scale category. So I'll talk about the differentiation between start and scale in a moment. But yes, just to give you a very high level view, very high level idea, we do have two program levels, start and scale, right? So talking about the benefits as to what do startups get out of being in the program, right? So again, from technical perspective, we offer OVH Cloud credits to build the product to startups. I mean, we help them with the initial infrastructure cost, and we understand that as an early stage startup, you could be bootstrapped, you could not have enough funding available. So we take care of the initial infrastructure costs that are required with these cloud credits that we offer. And another unique thing that we offer is the solution architect support, right? So, and we also understand that not every startup entrepreneur or not every entrepreneur is going to be from the technical side, right? They would and they might not even have sometimes a very large technical team. So that is why we provide you with our solution architect support, who can guide you, who can advise you, and who can consult with you in terms of in migrating to the platform, who can help you set up your initial infrastructure, who can guide you in the way in terms of, okay, what could be the most efficient way that you need to set up your networks or probably other cloud resources as well, right? So these are the technical benefits that you get out of being in the program. Now, what are the business benefits, right? From business standpoint, what do we offer to startups? We have something called as OVH Cloud Mentorship that I think Philip is going to talk about in detail in a moment. But yes, we do offer mentorship to startups as well. And this is a one-on-one mentorship which happens with seasoned mentors, both internal and external to OVH Cloud. Then we offer, social media visibility as well for the startup. And for an early stage startup, you want to get out there, you want your brand to be, known among others. So we provide you with that social media visibility as well. We provide you with, access to our partners as well. Meaning, we also have partnerships with VCs. We have partnerships with, IncubateHub, for example. We have partnerships with other startup ecosystem players, accelerators, incubators, and we can help you with with the connections as well, right? So yeah, these are the technical benefits and business benefits of being in the program. And the way to get into a startup program is it's quite simple. You can actually apply directly, or the program is also live on IncubateHub platform. You could actually sign up there, and we have partnered with IncubateHub to actually help the startup community here in India. So yeah, that's about the startup program in glance. At a glance, I remember I mentioned that I'll talk about the differentiation between start and scale category in a moment. So if you look at this from start category, we offer 10,000 euros worth of credits. So this, you'd get it in your local currency, depending on, it will be an equivalent amount to 10,000 euros. You get standard support from our side, and this is the day-to-day operational support that we provide. And like I mentioned, we give you 6 hours of solution architect support as well, and the program goes on for 12 months, right? So this is with respect to start category. With respect to scale, you could get credits up to 100,000 euros. Now this number, the final number can be decided depending on what kind of requirements the startup has, what kind of what stage the startup is in. Do they have they raised funding? Have they not raised funding? What kind of industry that they're operating, and looking at multiple factors, we decide on, okay, what kind of credits can be given to a scale up. But yeah, the maximum that we give is 100,000 euros. You do get business support in this case, and you get 20 hours of solution architects time in as part of scale category, right? And the products that are eligible with startup program are public cloud and hosted private cloud. I think Philip was talking about dedicated servers at the start as well, and that is not covered mainly because startups do not have that bandwidth to manage a physical machine by themselves. I mean, they just want a machine which is already configured for them, which has the virtualization layer on top of it, and they can just go ahead and install their application. That's it, right? So that's how that's why we have public cloud and hosted private cloud offerings available with the credits that we provide. So yeah, that's about startup program in detail. I will let Philip talk about the fast forward accelerator that we have recently launched. Over to you, Philip.
Thanks, Satyam. Just also to clarify, although we don't cover bare metal service through the startup program with the startup program credits, you can still access bare metal service. You just got to pay for them yourself. So yeah, just to move on to the fast forward accelerator. So yeah, we have launched this year a go-to-market offering called Fast Forward, in response to the fact that we want to be able to support you on your journey, regardless of the current economic environment. And so, yeah, we really want to be able to help you accelerate no matter what the conditions are around you. And just to cover what Fast Forward includes. So you still got, what Satyam mentioned now, our core startup program. That's the up to 100,000 euro in free cloud credits, and also tech traction, which includes your engagement with our engineers as well as our sales team to help you get faster access to product orders and things like that. Everything is centered around our strong value proposition around personal touch. So you get personally onboarded by a manager in your region, as we mentioned, and then to focus specifically on Fast Forward, the go-to-market offering, now more visibility to you through our Shine On program. This is, in terms of talking about scaling, visibility is something that you really need to leverage when trying to scale your business, and we provide that with personal visibility on social media for all our new members, and also trying to get you involved in the events and webinars that we do to give you visibility through our networks and our ecosystem. And then also one-on-one mentoring to solve cloud and business challenges through mentoring for startups. So this is where we have OVHcloud employees across various different disciplines providing one-on-one mentoring. We match you up with a mentor based on your needs, based on your challenges. And this has been a very successful program. Really, we get a lot of good feedback from our members on the value that they get through mentoring for startups. And then also access to relevant content to accelerate your growth through our content hub. So we've just recently relaunched our website now with our content hub. So go and have a look at that, startup.ovhcloud.com, where you can also apply to the program. And then we also have access to market and funding through our showcase events. So these events bring our startups and scale-ups together with venture capital companies, other industry experts and enablers to create connections which lead to funding and business opportunities. And SATYAM actually ran a local showcase event last week in India. And yeah, just to look out for our global showcase event, which will run again next year. But running up to that, we also have our showcase contest, where you can win 5,000 euros as well as access to mentoring and connections into our ecosystem. So look out for that in a few months' time, where we'll be announcing that you can apply for that showcase contest. Thanks. Then just the last slide, just to talk about, just to sum things up. So yeah, using cloud is a necessity as a startup now, just to allow you to test your offering in the market and to scale rapidly with public cloud. But choosing the right provider is really important. You need to think about things about where's your data located. Are you meeting local data legislation? Do you have freedom to move that data? Have you thought about costs? So the right cloud provider can help you scale quickly while keeping costs under control. And you need to think also about avoiding lock-in, that you have that flexibility in your tech stack as you're developing, that you can change direction, that you can be agile. And as a startup program, we're very keen to support you on your journey and help you to tackle any current challenges that you have, give you faster access to our support, give you a real personal service where you have a manager like SATYAM you can deal with, as well as to meet one-on-one with our engineers to understand how to architect your solution on our cloud and get the support that you need. Thank you. Yeah, so open to questions now from anyone.
Yeah, Satyam. So we have a question from Dr. Pradeep Joseph. I am a software entrepreneur with a 35 years experience, currently based out in Muscat, setting up IT venture here, offer services product to GCC countries. I develop, offer AI/ML based health apps, very specialized predictive analytical solutions. So he wants to know, how do I partner with OVHcloud in this geography?
Philip, do you want to take that?
In terms of, this is in India, right?
No, GCC, Middle Eastern countries, Philip.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So I missed the region there. So yeah, we have somebody who looks after, a manager like SATYAM, who looks after Africa and Middle East as well. We have a single application process from our website where you click on the apply button, you'll create a customer account, much like any customer would, but then we have some additional questions on the back of that where we ask you about details about your startup, what your business model is, and what kind of tech needs that you have, so we can assess that we can meet those needs. So it's a short application process. Within a week, you'll hear back whether your application has been accepted, and then basically once you've signed our online contract, your credit is added to your account, and you can go ahead then and create public cloud instances, and the cost of that will come directly off your credit, which is like a payment method on your customer account. So we certainly can support you in the Middle East.
And also, I think he was more interested in partnerships as well. So yes, we are also open for partnerships. In fact, you can reach out to either Philip or me or Raghu as well, and we can connect you with the right person if you're looking for a partnership with our startup program. Yeah.
We have a question from Sarvanan. His question.
How do I reach out to you and Philip?
Raghu, would you provide him with our contact?
Sure,
or
sure.
I can,
Yes, I will reach out. So Sarvanan's question is, could you elaborate what kind of social media attractions we can get as a startup through OVH program?
Right. So in terms of social media, what we do is we do posts about any new members that come in, especially on LinkedIn and Twitters. Right. That is something that's about the that's about the post when you join the program. In case you have any specific requirements, we are having a product launch, for example, and you would want to do that, then we do a separate post for starter program members as well. So we can do like a focused post on, again, social media channels like LinkedIn and Twitter. That's another thing that we can do. And Philip, do we also we are also working on something, creating podcasts as well. Would you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so there's other ways that we look at giving visibility is through our content hub. We're making podcasts with partners as well as with members. Again, this is part of our fast forward offering. So, towards the end of our program, if we see that that you really are making good use of our cloud, and that we can see that you are keen to work with us, then we can look at giving you additional visibility. So through podcasts, through case studies on our website, where we will develop a case study, and that then gets posted on the case study section of our website. So there's multiple ways that we do joint articles on external websites as well, and things like that. So there's multiple ways that we can help to provide visibility for you, once we see opportunities to work together.
We have a question from Vikas. It's concerning more about pricing. So Vikas asks, I am from McKeeWorks based out of Mumbai, providing Industry 4.0 solutions for manufacturing companies. So he was going through the OVH website and he couldn't find the pricing page. So if you could touch upon that, that would be great.
Sure. So our pricing is, I would say, very competitive in that manner compared to other major hyperscalers, right? I can share the overall pricing would again depend on the requirement of the startups as such. But like I said, like both Philip and I mentioned, initially for first 12 months, or if you're in scale, if you get promoted to scale for first 24 months, your infrastructure costs would not be much because of the credits that we offer. So that would be taken care of. But yes, we are much more affordable than other major hyperscalers, and with a better price performance ratio as well. Philip, would you want to add on some details?
Yeah. So our pricing is is very simple. If you do go onto our website and you look under one of these categories, bare metal, hosted private cloud, or public cloud, and you go and choose particular offerings, you'll be able to see the price there for each offering quite clearly. And basically what you see is what you're going to pay at the end of the month. There's no surprises. As we said, we are usually significantly cheaper than the competitors. And and so things just like bandwidth costs, which can be 15 to 20% of the cost, we don't have that component in our cost. So yeah, it's there are quite a few cost calculators that you can use as well, that we listed on. SATYAM, I don't know if you can remember any of the names, but that's something that we can also share in a follow-up email to all attendees. There's a few cost calculators where you can actually go and compare our price with other cloud providers, and that's quite a useful way of also just understanding what the cost difference is as well.
Sure.
Aditya has a few questions. I'll be asking them in order. So the first question is, how do you handle data backup and disaster recovery? And can I easily migrate from my existing data and applications to your platform? And the third question is, what data retention and deletion policies do you have? So these are the three questions.
Sure. So about the data and backup, so we do have partner solutions available for data and backup available, right? VMZerto being a couple of them. The second part of the question was what? I forgot.
The second
Raghu,
part
could
of the question is about how can I easily migrate my existing data and applications to your platform?
Yes, you should be able to do it, but I mean, it depends on what your application stack is. So I think this is something that we need to have a chat with our engineer before I answer this actually. But yeah, and the third part of the question was about
The
what
data
about the
retention
data and
and
retention policies, right? So we give the flexibility again, like I said, you would get the flexibility of choosing what kind of retention policy you have with the products you get, right? So that's the flexibility that we offer for our customers as well.
Yeah, just to add to that, yeah. So there's certain, in terms of backup and disaster recovery, there's certain things that you'd get by default as a customer, but then the other options, add-on options. So you need to decide, what level of recovery you need, and obviously there's a cost associated with the level of recovery. So you can then, choose the level of backup and recovery that meets the needs of your business, and also obviously what your customers will need. I think the key thing about the startup program for you as a potential customer of OVHcloud is that you have this time with the engineer, the 6 hours in our start level and up to 20 hours in the scale level. It's a massive benefit because it's our pre-sales engineers, it's also our professional services team. So you can really dive into your particular infrastructure needs, and if you host it with another provider, what would it look like on our cloud, or if you're starting out for the first time on cloud, to be able to actually have one-on-one time with an engineer like that is incredibly valuable. Because when you're running a startup, you've got a lot of things you're trying to deal with, to try and find the documentation and wait on kind of emails to get feedback can be frustrating. Whereas if you can, have that time with an engineer, you can solve your problems. You can cut out miscommunication and get to the bottom of issues quickly.
we have a few more questions. One of the questions is, what APIs and integration options do you offer for connecting with other systems and services?
Right. So I can take that up. Yes, we do have APIs available. Right. I can share the links for the documentation with Raghu, and I think you can pass it on. To add on to that, we also, since our public cloud platform is based on OpenStack, you could also integrate it using the OpenStack APIs that are readily available as well. So yeah, we have both the options. We have our own APIs, plus you can use OpenStack APIs as well.
We have another question from Vikas. If I want to port my application from AWS to OVHcloud, it would be a difficult task as I have to reinstall the complete stack and the database that discourages me to port. So any comments on that?
Well, this is, I mean, we would need to understand your, architecture and the kind of data that you're having, the kind of services you're using at AWS to, actually comment on what kind of efforts it would require. But I think, yeah, Vikas, if that is something of a very, I mean, if you're facing some issues at your current cloud service provider, we are happy to discuss and bring in our professional services team as well to discuss as to how we can, circumvent that. So yeah, I think it's very difficult to comment at this point. But Philip, any points from your end?
Yeah, no, just to add to that, the important thing to remember is you don't have to migrate everything. So, as I said, multi-cloud is a key strategy these days for startups. So when you sit with our engineers, we can talk about what's the lowest hanging fruit in terms of what can you do on our cloud that's going to give you the most cost benefits from day one. And so you start with something like that. Maybe it's hosting your data with us because you're not going to have all those bandwidth costs. Whatever it is, our engineers will help you to come up with a good starting point. And then when you start to reap the benefits of that, you can then start also deciding, do you want to move more services? But don't think migration, think multi-cloud. And then, in the future, you can always move infrastructure because it makes sense for your customers in a particular region, or if it makes cost benefits, or, whatever the value proposition is for you. So hopefully that helps to, kind of simplify it a bit, that you don't have to think I'm going to have to move all my infrastructure at day one. No, that's not the case.
Yes, that's it for the questions, Satyam.
Sure. Thanks so much, Raghu.
Thank you. Really, I mean, Philip and Satyam, that was really a very nice peek into OVH's value and offerings. And I'm sure, I think, there would be a lot of interest, I'm sure, in terms of being able to leverage. I just wanted to also ask, saying that, typically, we are also spawning various cohorts where we are going to have, startups which are going to have international appeal, right? Who are also going to be primarily part of it. So, I mean, with this, what do you feel, as to what additional value, such a startup would get where they are going to enter into multiple markets at the same time?
Philip, you want to take that?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. Yeah, so I think that, that's when I mentioned fast forward. That's really where fast forward comes of huge benefit, because, we've got these local and global showcase events where you can network beyond your region, and also access, connections in terms of both customers as well as industry, as well as funding. So yeah, we're offering more than just assistance with your technology, with your cloud technology, and the support of that. We're providing you with this access to market and funding. We have, we've got partners in various regions, some of which will also help you to take technology, your business from one region and into another. So again, that's something you can take up with the manager in your region if that's one of the challenges. We're happy to help, happy to see how we can help with business challenges as well.
Thanks, Philip, for really elaborating that. I don't know whether this question was taken up. Saravanan had it, saying that, could you elaborate what kind of social, that is the last question I would like to take maybe. Could you elaborate what kind of social media traction we can get as a startup through the OVH program?
Uday, I think we did cover it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I can give you a case study though. So there's one of the startups from our Central and Eastern Europe cluster. We sponsored a competition in that region. I think it was last year, and they ended up being the winner of that contest. And on the back of that, they then applied to the startup program, got into our scale level, and they also through that region they got awarded AI Startup of the Year in that region, which gave them more publicity through our social media networks and through a press release. And they also got a case study on our website. If you go look on OVHcloud.com and see that there's a community and then a case study kind of menu, if you go and click on that and search on CUX, you'll see their case study there, which is now listed on our website. So yeah, and there's a number of the startups that are listed there as well that you can go and have a look at, just to kind of see what their use cases are, which is also quite an interesting way to understand kind of the value that we offer. So go and have a look at our website. Yeah.
I think that was a good session, Satyam.
Thanks, Philip. That was insightful in terms of people.
It was very insightful. And this will be the end of the session. Any more questions, you can write an email to me at raghunath@IncubateHub.com. You can also find the recorded session on our platform. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.